Breaking it down in layman's terms, today I've got a special guest. I've got Lloyd Lofton, a true practitioner, a sales leader in the insurance business, and a whole lot more. He's cutting edge with his technologies. He brings a lot to the insurance business. He's an author of a book, The Sales Hero's Guide to Handling Objections. He's also the founder of Power Behind the Sales. He's been featured on numerous magazines like Retired Advisor, Think Advisor, insurancenews.net, and a whole lot more. What doesn't Lloyd do? Well, Lloyd does a lot. Lloyd, welcome in layman's terms.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on here. And there's nobody I'd rather be on a video call like this than the video man himself.
Well, I appreciate that, Lloyd. And I had a chance to meet Lloyd back in 2016 through a meetup group, National Speakers Association chapter of Georgia. And I was honored to be able to speak there. And Lloyd was always talking about webinars and sales training and coaching. And today he's here with us. He's on the mend right now, but he's still doing work. I got to ask you right off the gate, Lloyd, insurance business. Why did you choose that profession in sales?
I don't know if I chose it or it chose me. I think it's just because I was lazy, naive, and had no confidence. So I got into the insurance business in 1977. I think I was maybe 22, 23 years old. And I didn't think I was smart enough to get any other kind of job or trained to do anything else. I had done sales for a couple of years before. I was living in Alton, Illinois, and it was one of the ads I saw in the paper. And Tom Pearson, who was the district manager, liked me. And like anything in sales, salespeople are always worried that the prospect is going to like them. And I always tell salespeople, you need to make sure that the prospect feels like you like them. And I felt like Tom Pearson really liked me. So I went ahead and took the job because I felt like he believed in me. And so that kind of how it got started.
Well, you stuck with it. And one thing you said about getting people to like you or in sales, one of the things people don't like is objections in sales. And you wrote a dynamic book, The Sales Hero's Guide to Handling 248 Insurance Rebuttals That Close the Sale. Why 248? And what was the premise behind the book?
The biggest problem all salespeople have, I don't care who they are, and if they say they don't have this problem, it's because they don't want to acknowledge it. And the reason they don't want to acknowledge it is because they don't really have an answer to it. But the problem all salespeople have is handling objections, which is kind of ironic if you think about it. Like I remember being in Sioux Falls, Iowa one time, working with a manager, and I was sent out to his office to determine, he'd been with the company for years. He was like 68 years old at the time. And the production of his office had gone down. And I was sent out there to decide if we should kind of force him to retire, if we should just let him get his renewals or let him keep managing his district. And I went out in the field with him. And my job when I went out in the field was to observe. It wasn't to do the selling. It was to observe and kind of make an evaluation of the skill set. And I remember we were in our second appointment sitting at a kitchen table, in a dining room of this couple's house. And the husband had an objection to paying today. It was health insurance. They wanted the insurance. The price was good. They designed a plan they thought fit them, but he didn't want to write a check today. And so when Tom gave them the price, that customer said, "Yeah, I'm not writing you a check today. We'll try it out and see if we like it." And he stuttered. He was like, and I'm sitting at the end of the table, like, it's a kitchen table, a dining room table. The husband's here, the wife's sitting on the side of him, Tom's sitting on this side, I'm sitting at the other end of the table. And I remember sitting there looking at Tom like, "You're like 68, you've been in the business 40 years. Dude. This can't be the first time you ever heard this in your life." And he stuttered around. The wife looked at him, the wife looked at the husband. And I spoke up and I looked at the wife and I said, "Barbara, buying health insurance is kind of like buying groceries, right? You go to the grocery store, you get the basket, you go up and down the aisle, you put the food in the basket, you go to the register to pay for it. And you don't say to the clerk after they ring up all your food, you don't say, 'Well, I'm going to take the food home, try it out. If I like it, I'll come back and pay for it,' right?" And there was this pause.
Or negotiate after the price for that matter. After
there's this awkward pause. Barbara looked at her husband and said, "Yeah, that's right. Write a check." and we got the sale. So salespeople struggle with objections, and the 248 or the 248 rebuttals I've used throughout my career. They're actual live rebuttals. They're word for word. And not only they're word for word, but I bold the words you're supposed to use voiced emphasis with. So that's kind of how the book came about. It was voted one of 33 best new presentation books to read in 2021. And so that's kind of how that came about. I'm an old-fashioned guy in terms of sales. I keep everything. So I've got the first training book I got in the insurance industry back in 1978. I've got all the scripts I've ever used. I kept any training I've been through, Combined Insurance Company, best training in the world. I've kept all that stuff over the years. So one day I just decided, I'm going to put all these objections and rebuttals together and see if there's anything that people would use. And the reason is because salespeople are asking me all the time, and this is like 10, 12 years ago, do you have any training? Do you have a CD? Of course, nobody uses CDs anymore, but do you have a CD? Do you have any scripts we could use? And so that's when I started compiling all this information. And then a few years later, I was able to work with a virtual assistant that could help me put the book together. And that's how the book came out. That's a long story to tell you how the book came. See, I'm a salesman. I talk.
No, that's okay, because I was curious about the 248, and I love the inception about, objections with that. And you used the word virtual, which I kind of want to lean back into a little bit, because the pandemic hit in 2020, and you've always been doing technologies. You've always been doing webinars. You've always done workshops. So let's talk a little bit about how that impacted you. And before I let you answer that, you've been doing a lot of online training and a lot of workshops virtually. So I'm sure business as usual for you, but I'm sure there were some upticks in your work. Comment a little bit on that if you could.
Well, the irony of the pandemic, let me, if I can, let me step back for a little bit.
Sure.
I remember when I was running a captive distribution for American Republic Insurance Company, and the product department was designing a app. This is back in 2003, 2004, for a PDA. I mean, young people today don't even know what a PDA is, but it's before the iPhones. And I remember sitting in a conference room where we had product, we had legal, we had marketing, we had distribution, we had our sales department there, and everyone's going around the table deciding if they want to invest the resources in creating this app for the PDA so that agents out in the field could do quotes, could do live quotes. And I remember somebody from legal said to me, "Do you think salespeople, the agents, will actually use this?" And I said to them at the time, don't take offense where offense isn't meant, but only someone who's on a salary and gets company benefits would think that a salesperson sitting in a Greasy Spoon restaurant in Macon, Missouri, eating lunch with a couple across in the next booth that he strikes up a conversation with, and they express an interest, wouldn't want to have an ability to pull out his PDA, enter their information, show them the rate, and write a policy right then. So the answer to your question is yes, they would use it. Now, the irony of that is they developed that app for the PDA, but also for the laptop. And then they sent the laptop out in the field to field test it without talking to the sales distribution. So it's our team, our agents out there in the field, they're field testing it. They sent the laptop to the agents. Now, remember, this is 2004, 2005. They sent the laptop out to the agents. And the agent gets in a home, and guess what the laptop was missing? A Wi-Fi card to connect to the internet. Because the corporate people didn't realize that might be an issue. So yeah, I've been working with technology for years. And when the pandemic hit, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was doing a live event for Catholic Financial Life. Did a 2-hour event. Then I get on a plane. I fly back. It's like the 23rd, 24th of February of 2020. I've got 4 events scheduled, live events scheduled in March, 3 scheduled in April. And the next day, literally the next day, all those got canceled. And so what it did, here's what salespeople do. Salespeople tend to define their market by the products they sell. So in other words, if they sell life insurance, then they look for people who are interested in life insurance, which of course nobody is, right? Nobody cares about life insurance.
It's one of the most challenging things out there to sell too, and I
Yeah.
understand, and I can identify with that. But
Yeah, and the reason it's challenging to sell is because the way the salespeople promote the product and the carrier and the price causes the consumer, the prospect, to think in their mind that they have to come up with new money in their current monthly disposable income to pay for a product they're not sure they need. And that's why it's hard to sell, because people don't want to have to come up with new money out of their budget. The difference in that is if you learn to sell the problems people have, then people are interested to know how you can solve that problem. And that's the first thing that occurred to me. When those cancellations started coming in, I thought to myself, this is fantastic. I mean, this is a great marketing opportunity, because what problems are these people going to have? Like I did a coaching session on Tuesday, just the other day with some financial advisors. The wholesale inflation rate is 9.7%. It was just announced on Tuesday. The wholesale inflation rate is 9.7%. Inflation is 7.9%. I mean, that's the highest it's been in years. And I said to these financial advisors on Tuesday, what a great opportunity. Every client that you've done a financial plan with in the last 5 years is now waiting for someone to tell them, what the heck do we do? Because you didn't plan for 9.7% wholesale inflation rate. So when all those cancellations came in, the first thing I thought is, what problem are these companies going to have? And then the beautiful part about that is, instead of them flying people in to one event, they get to pay me to do individual webinars for teams across their distribution, across their companies. So if a company's got 8 offices, that sounds like 8 different events that I could put on instead of one event.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of your perspective. If you understand what you're selling, then you always have a prospect.
Being able to understand what you're selling and being able to make the pivots like you have. And speaking of making pivots, I'm going to bring out my virtual co-host, Virtual Vonda. She's got an ad spot, and then we'll be right back.
Thanks, Doug. We are living in a virtual business world. Virtual selling and video marketing are on the rise. Communicating socially online is fine, but there might be an opportunity to collaborate further. By building on your social proof visually. In layman's terms, creating visual story selling content. Thanks again for connecting and social watching.
Thanks, Vonda. And you talked about visual social proof, and our guest here, Lloyd Lofton, definitely has that, the expertise and experience when it comes to sales, training, and coaching. Lloyd, on your LinkedIn profile, you've got the acronym LUTC, Lloyd University Training Coaching. What's that all about, and why do you have that position there?
Well, I didn't think about that. Let me write that down. I might actually use that. That's pretty good. It actually means Life Underwriter Training Council, and that's a certification course I went through many years ago. And people in the financial service industry, they understand that means that I've actually received an education in insurance and underwriting and field marketing for financial products.
Well, I love that. And again, you definitely need to check out Lloyd's LinkedIn profile. He's well connected globally. Lloyd, I want to change gears, and I want to talk a little bit about an innovative product that you're partnered with, Say to Sell. And this really brings home some great key tips, strategies, and technologies. Put it in layman's terms, Say to Sell. We'll put the link up, but I'm very intrigued about that web-based technology.
I was looking for a long time for a way to eliminate some of the vendors that I had to use and to reduce some of my costs while converting more sales and making more money. And like most salespeople, you use a lot of different services. Like you'll use MailChimp. So that's going to cost you maybe $100 to $200 a month. Then you're going to use a service like a ClickFunnels or Leadpages. That's going to cost you $100 to $200 a month. Everybody's got like 2, 3, 4 different services that you have to use. And I have been looking for some time for a vendor that can help me put all of that under one umbrella. Now, there's vendors out there that do that, but what they're missing is what I as a salesperson need to have, and that is if I'm going to make a phone call, if I'm going to pick up that phone and call somebody, then I have to have a way to manage that database. And when I make that phone call, like most salespeople, I need to make sure that I know what my script is. And because I market different products, I might have different scripts. Like insurance agents, financial advisors, and other people, you might have different carriers. They require you to use a certain kind of script, and you have to have those available. But what happens when you use the script and then the prospect says something that's not in your radar, like Tom sitting at the kitchen table? Hey, I'm not writing you a check today. We'll try it out. If we like it, we'll call you back. Well, what do you say? Well, I wanted a way where we could bring up the scripts and the rebuttals while you're on the phone. Now, that might sound good. You know, you think you can do it in like Salesforce. You think you can do it in Sales Life. You think you can do it in these different places. But here's two things that are the problem. One of the things the problem, it doesn't necessarily tell you the next best thing to say. In other words, it doesn't have artificial intelligence that tracks the conversation, and then it gives you the next best thing to say based on the way that conversation's gone in the past and it's going now. And the other thing it doesn't do is it doesn't give you the ability to use artificial intelligence to type on your keyboard the objection you just got and bring up a plethora of different rebuttals that you can use. It doesn't do that. And another thing that most of these systems don't do is it doesn't give you the opportunity when you're going to do a follow-up call to actually look at what the conversation was, see how long you talked about each part of the conversation. And so my platform, Say to Sell, does all of that. And, excuse me, while you're on the call, you can send them the brochures that you have. You can send them emails. If you use a rebuttal and you don't get the sale, but you're going to have a follow-up call with them, you can actually just click an email and send them the email template for the rebuttal you used on that call so you stay in front of them. And all of that is called a playbook. You can set up playbooks in there so that you're constantly staying in front of your prospect. And then I go back to what I was saying. When you're calling that follow-up call, you talked to somebody a week ago or a month ago or 3 months ago, and you picked up that phone and call them. You know, what you have to do right now is you have to go through like all these little Post-it notes that I have posted around everywhere. You have to take your notepad and kind of flip through and figure out what's the last conversation you had with somebody. What were they talking about? You don't have to do that with Say to Sell. You can go right into your last conversation, and everything that was said, everything that was sent, everything that was talked about is right there. You can actually, if it's a Zoom call, you can actually watch that Zoom. But you know, you're not going to make any money as a salesperson if you're on an hour-long call and you have to go back and listen to the whole 1 hour Zoom call, right?
You got to distribute
it takes forever.
more efficient.
So what my platform does, what the Say to Sell platform does, because it breaks down the conversation, it's how long you talked about each topic. You can literally go to that part of the conversation that you think is going to be important for your next call, and you can click it, and you can either read it, listen to it, or if it's a Zoom call, you can watch it, just that part of it. And then when you get to people on the phone, it's about staying relevant. It's about being relevant all the time and not having to. Can you imagine? Salesforce is one of the largest platforms in the world, and you still have to enter your data. You still have to enter the data, and you don't have to do that with Say to Sell. That's why I'm so excited about it.
Well, I'm very intrigued about it. If you go over to the website, you can take a little test drive of it, and there's a lot of great information with that. And it's just real life scenarios in selling that's emulated. It's best practices.
Now, let me just say this: I appreciate you saying that. And when you take the test drive, the way that I designed it is we'll ask, if you're in the financial service industry, we'll ask you what product you sell. So let's say you sell life insurance. What's the main objection you get? No money, no need, no hurry, no confidence. When you pick that, and then you set up your test drive, which takes like 30 seconds, you'll get an email within a minute or two as soon as you answer the questions. When you log in, the playbook for whatever product you said, whatever market you said you're in, that playbook's already up there. Now, if you have your own script, you can upload your script. We'll do it for you. When you sign up for the program, you get me. I'll help custom design all of your scripts for you. But you can use the dozens and dozens and dozens of scripts we have on the platform, the 248 rebuttals, the 248 email templates. All the training, everything that's in the book, the Sales Heroes Guide to Handling Objection, everything that's in the book is in the platform. You can use all of that. So when you answer those questions, you have your playbook for your market already there, just like that. All you got to do is upload your list and you're ready to roll.
Instantaneous, but the information's at your disposal to use efficiently. And I like what I saw on the platform, and I said test drive. Lloyd's got a lot of content on his websites, his company, everything, the power of freemiums. He gives a lot of free advice too. I mean, there's a wealth of information, whether it's audio, podcasts, videos, webinars. I got Vonda here, and Vonda wants to ask you another question here. We're going to bring her out here because we just want to get to the point where she's intrigued, and we're going to bring her on.
Thanks, Doug. Vonda V is here. Are there any special projects that you're working on? Give us some breaking news or updates that you can share with us. And now, back to you, Doug. Vonda V is out.
Answer the lady there, Lloyd. Any breaking news projects that you're working on?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to answer that question. Here's a project that I'm getting ready to launch with the Say to Sell right now, and this can be for coaches or trainers. Here's what happens in the virtual world is we do meetings like this all the time. And the problem with a meeting like this is we might have to upload it to our platform or upload it to Dropbox and then send a link out to it. And when you do that, what happens is it takes people away from your brand, takes people away from your landing page, and it makes you distant from them. And then they've got to watch the whole thing again. So what you can do with Say to Sell is you can upload, like this interview we're doing today, you can upload that into the platform, and then you can market yourself out with a link to this interview or any portion of this interview, and people can watch it. And that means that any of the coaching that you do, you can turn around and monetize. So one of the things the platform does is if somebody clicks on a video or watches a video, like MailChimp and other places, they'll tell you the click rate. Like somebody got an email, somebody clicked on a link in your email. So you'll know that they clicked on the link for the video, but you don't have a clue how long they watched the video for, unless you log into YouTube and then turn around and look at it. But you might see how many views somebody has, but you don't know how long I watched the video.
How long you were engaged with it.
Exactly.
So that metrics.
With our platform, you'll immediately get a notice that Doug clicked on the email, clicked on the video link, and watched the video for 4 minutes and 18 seconds. And because I know the system tells me exactly where the video has been tracked at, and I can mark it back to you an email on that particular topic, or I know that I need to pick up the phone and call you.
It's having those points of engagement in real time with the conversations. And, during our interview, I've said a couple of times, I've referenced your websites, your LinkedIn profile, all that information there. We can't cover all the great things that Lloyd has done. It's you out there to go over there and do your homework. But this guy's a real practitioner, a real sales leader, a real thought leader in insurance and just business in general. Lloyd, I know Vonda asked any projects you're working on. Do you have any parting shots or anything else that you would like to cover that we didn't cover in our conversation today?
Yeah, I think the one thing I'd like for everybody to walk away from viewing this interview today is this: give yourself away. Just give yourself away. Make sure that you set aside enough of your time each week. Like if you go to LloydLofton.com, you can click on 15-minute visit. And I probably do 10 or 15 of those a week. I don't charge anybody for it. Give yourself away. Make sure that you have material that you can give away. Because when you give things away to people, you build them up. You build their confidence up. You build up their perception that they can do more. And that means that they take that out in the world and make the world a more positive place. The other thing that happens is those very people, if what you give away makes them feel better and do better, and they perform better, then they talk more about you. And I get a lot of my business, not from referrals, but from introductions. A referral is getting the name and phone number of somebody you don't really know from somebody you don't really know. Like somebody that you just bought from you, they give you a name and number. Well, you didn't really know them before they bought from you. And you get a name and number and you still got to start over again. But an introduction means that someone actually has a belief system in you, they've gotten value from you, and then they want to introduce you to somebody. So make yourself repeatable, make yourself duplicatable, and give yourself away. The more you give yourself away, the more business you're going to get.
Give yourself away. And as I said earlier, the freemiums that you have on your websites and the content. And one thing about giving your time, and we appreciate Lloyd giving his time today for interview. And the man he's on the mend. He's playing hurt, but he's here. You can see the guitars in the background, Lloyd. I appreciate you taking the time today. More importantly, a wealth of information for salespeople out there in all works of life and business in general. Lloyd, thank you for coming on Layman's Terms.
Thank you for keeping the video education out there in the marketplace. Everybody needs to do video, and you're the man to go to figure out how to do it.
And there it is, Lloyd Lofton. Definitely check out his work. One to watch, one to follow, one to connect with.